The scene opens in Greece, where a British spy named Aubrey Argyll prepares to move in on his target, a terrorist named Lagrange. During a brief dance together, Lagrange asks Argyll if he is aware of who she is and soon mentions that she wishes that he was there to capture her heart rather than to capture her. Lagrange has her assassins draw their guns on Argyll. He then contacts his partner Kira, who uses her tech to find a way for Argyll to get out. Kira then pulls up in front of the back door to pick Argyll up. Thereupon, Lagrange corners Argyll and Kira outside and fires at them. Although Argyll manages to defend himself with the car door, the same could not be said for Kira, as she gets hit in the chest with a bullet from Lagrange's gun. As Argyll tries to save her, he contacts his other associate, Wyatt, to catch Lagrange before she can escape. Argyll asks Wyatt about the status, leading Wyatt to respond and mention that he is finishing his coffee. In response, Argyll suggests Wyatt to hurry up. Wyatt catches her, and he and Argyll interrogate Lagrange to learn who her employer is. She is working for Fowler, the director who also employed Argyll and Wyatt, and this comes off as a great surprise for them, something that they had never expected. Lagrange then proceeds to poison herself when she sees that the two are distracted before she can be brought in, and Argyll now wonders who he can really trust. The scene shifts to Ellie Conway, who is reading a book, and the book seems to have the same content as the story. It looks like it is the Store of Argyll. Later, during the questionnaires, Ellie is asked by a girl various ways for her to find the time to write, as she is an aspiring writer. Ellie explains that as a waitress, she juggled so many shifts that she never had the time to write until the skating accident happened. She adds that she thinks when something like that happens to someone, it makes them realize that the next day is a promise, and that if they cannot find the time, they have to make the time to do the things that are important to them. Once Ellie did that, all the characters, stories, and ideas trapped in her head for so many years finally got released onto the page. After answering a few more questions, Ellie goes to her private cabin with her pet cat, Alfie, to begin writing the 5th book. She spends the evening writing everything, thinking she has completed it before bed. In the morning, Ellie is contacted by her mother, Ruth, who spent all night reading the manuscript Ellie sent her. Ruth says the book is good but doesn't like the ending, calling it a cop-out. Ellie then starts trying to write another chapter to give the book a better closure. She envisions several scenarios to give Argyll a better ending, but draws a blank. Ellie takes a train with Alfie to visit Ruth in Chicago when she suggests helping Ellie finish the book. On the train, she is approached by a man named Aidan Wold. He pretends to be a fan of Ellie's before informing her that people on the train are targeting her. Moments later, a fanatic comes by with a knife disguised as a pen, forcing Aidan to jump into action and start fighting assassins. At the same time, Ellie tries to hide, though she visualizes Argyll himself in Aidan's place. One of the assassins is Carlos, whom Ellie recognizes from the book reading as a supposed fan. Aidan then takes Ellie to the end of the train, blasting the doors off and parachuting with her. Alfie goes out of the train, and she passes out mid-air. When Ellie wakes up, Aidan cuts his hair and reveals that he took her to a cabin. He informs her that the assassins come from a sinister organization called the Division, led by director Ritter. They believe that Ellie's books predict certain events in their line of work and have already read her manuscript for book 5. They are waiting for her to write the final chapter. Ritter is shown executing his deputy director for failing to apprehend Ellie and reacquiring a master file that can expose all agents of the Division. Furthermore, the character of Wyatt is based on Aidan, while Kira is a real person who apparently did die. Aidan brings Ellie and Alfie to find an informant named Bakunin, who will deliver the master file to him. Hoping to get an idea of where to find Bakunin, Aidan convinces Ellie to start writing the next chapter, so they make their way to London. However, Aidan decides to take a private plane, and Ellie reveals she cannot travel in planes. Aidan tells Ellie this is the safest way for them to travel, since Ritter and his men will watch their every move. On the plane, Ellie begins to feel nauseous and starts taping her forehead, mentioning that it is an exercise to calm herself down. There, Aidan decides to take control of the situation and converses with Ellie, telling her about his past mission. Just like that, in no time, the plane had already taken off, and before Ellie could even know it, the plane had already reached a stable altitude. In the very next scene, they reach a park where Ellie begins writing her book, and all this is being heard by Ritter and his men. The duo are led to an apartment supposedly belonging to Bakunin. They find nothing but an opening under the floorboards, where Aiden finds a book with information written by Bakunin. Soon, Division assassins start making their way toward the building, leading to Ellie and Aiden hiding under the floorboards. After a while, Aiden springs out from underneath to start killing the assassins. Soon, more assassins make their way into the apartment building. Seeing this, Aiden tells Ellie that she will have to crush the skulls of the guys he will be leaving behind when he deals with them. He manages to convince her to do so, throws a stun grenade into the hallway, and takes out the first assassin. Ellie then spends a good amount of time convincing herself to crush the skull of the fallen assassin. Before she even knows it, Aiden has already dealt with all the assassins. Before more start coming, the two reach the roof and jump off onto a dumpster below. Aiden brings Ellie to his place in London for safety. He goes into the bathroom and talks to his employer while the shower is running. Ellie overhears Aiden saying that she needs a bullet in her head. Fearing for her life, she grabs Alfie and contacts Ruth so that she can go to Chicago herself with Alfie. Upon arriving, Ellie rejoins Ruth before her father arrives, and it turns out to be none other than Ritter. He starts going through Ellie's stuff before Aiden arrives, telling Ellie that these two are not her parents. After Ritter drops the dad act, Ruth, whose real name is Margaret Vogler, pulls a gun and a British accent on Ellie. Aiden shoots her and knocks Ritter out before getting a horrified Ellie out, unfortunately leaving Alfie behind. Aiden escorts Ellie to meet his employer, Alfred Alfie Solomon. Here, Ellie learns that the real Agent Argyll is none other than Ellie herself. The books were not predictions, but memories of her past life as a spy. Her real name is Rachel Kill, and she lost her memory after a mission gone wrong. Ritter and Vogler got to Rachel before Aiden could, and they posed as her parents, making her believe she was always an aspiring writer so that she could document her thoughts and eventually bring her down. They were hoping for the latest book to reveal the location of the master file. Ellie is bewildered at the revelation until Aiden engages her in combat, and she can utilize her skills from memory to neutralize him. Solomon tells Ellie and Aiden that the master file is in the possession of a division associate named Saba al-Baida, also known as the Keeper. The pair travel to Arabia, where Ellie must become Rachel once again. While waiting to speak to Saba at her compound, Aiden starts dancing with Ellie, saying they used to be romantically involved. Saba sees Ellie alone and talks to her, and she acts well enough as Rachel for Saba to give her the master file. The division manages to track down Ellie and Aiden, capturing them and bringing them on board their large ship. Ellie had just learned that she was an asset to the division. A flashback reveals that she had killed Bakunin before taking the master file, and the explosion triggered by his apartment's self-destructing led to her memory loss. To save herself, Ellie shoots Aiden in the chest to make Ritter think she is on their side. She also has to pretend she doesn't care for Alfie, who is in Ritter's custody. Aiden gets free and kills his captors before going to help Ellie. Thereupon, Aiden confronts Ellie about shooting at his heart, leading Ellie to reveal that, in reality, she shot him in a specific area so that the bullet would go through his chest but miss the heart, with survival being dependent on stopping the bleeding soon enough, something that Ellie got from a fan theory on how Kara could have been brought back. At first, Aiden believes that Ellie is telling him nonsense. However, then Ellie reminds Aiden that he is still alive for a reason, and that's when Aiden finds this shooting at heart thing to be very cool. Ellie then holds a smoke grenade, asking Aiden if he wants to dance. Soon, the two make their way outside, killing goons from the division. The entire area is filled with different colored smoke, while the two use thermal vision. Ellie sees one last hallucination of Argyll, telling her that she never needed him to do what he could do before she takes on Carlos and his goons, who have to stop with the gunfire after crude oil starts to leak out. Ellie then remembers one of her memories being ice skating. Hence, she straps some blades to her shoes and slides across the oil, slicing through the assassins before fighting Carlos, ending with her throwing a knife knife into his heart. She shoots the rest of the assassins before she and Aiden take out every last villain on the ship as a couple. With plenty of flares, they make it to the ship's control room to send the master file to Solomon, but Ritter aims his rifle at them. Alfie then lunges toward the villain and begins to claw at his face, giving Aiden a chance to shoot and kill Ritter. Unfortunately, Alfie clawed out his eyes as a retinal scan was needed to complete the upload, but Aiden found an alternate way. The duo begins uploading the file to Solomon. Still, Vogler shows up with a music box that mind controls Ellie to try and kill Aiden, making her put the upload on hold. Aiden fights Ellie reluctantly, nearly dying until a masked assailant hops onto the ship and brains Vogler with a wrench, causing her to drop the music box, which shatters upon hitting the floor and severs Ellie's mind control. The assailant is Kara, who survived her gunshot wound the same way Aiden survived his, because it turns out Kara was the one who suggested the theory to Ellie. The three, along with Alfie, send the rest of the master file and leave the ship to blow up, killing Vogler and anyone else left alive. Later, Ellie returns to her author role and finishes Book 5, giving Argyll a happy ending. She returns to the bookstore for another reading, and a fan asks her what happened to the characters after the story. Ellie says that hypothetically, Solomon received high honors from the CIA for exposing the division. At the same time, Kara went to rise in the tech field, and Ellie and Aiden appear to be together. Before Ellie ends things, another fan who looks much like a nerdier version of Ellie's image of Argyll stands to ask a question, but also suggests Ellie might have questions for him, leaving her surprised. During the credits, a flashback to 20 years earlier is shown. A young Argyll enters a pub and seems to be working with the Kingsman Agency, which seems to coexist in the same universe.